Now, the Buckeye Extra podcast with Rob Oller, Bill Rabinowitz, and Joey Kaufman from the Columbus Dispatch.
Welcome back to the Buckeye Extra football podcast. I'm Joey Kaufman, joined by Rob Oller and Bill Rabinowitz in a game that was hyped for months throughout the summer. Ohio State is able to handle business against Texas, winning 14-7. And now we're recording this on Tuesday morning. I would think Ohio State would be number one in the polls after a win like that. We'll see. Certainly a good start for the Buckeyes nonetheless.
Not if you talk to ESPN, which is promoting LSU to be number one after beating Clemson at Clemson. I mean, you talk about just a clear-cut, we support the SEC and we broadcast the SEC and they're jumping on board with LSU being number one. Come on, people. No way. I mean, Ohio State, it's either Penn State or Ohio State, right?
Well, look, obviously it doesn't matter. It's the first week other than just kind of pride and ego or whatever, but recognition. But I think when you beat the number one team and I don't say you dominated the games. They didn't in certain ways. They got outgained. They only had 11 first downs. It wasn't like a domination, but, that was a tremendous defensive performance. You beat the number one team and you're the number three team and the number two team plays a nobody. I think you get to be number one. LSU was impressive, but it wasn't like they crushed Clemson. And Clemson, there's still some doubts about them. I don't think there's much doubt that Ohio State will be number one. But, again, it doesn't really matter. They obviously would like to be, I'm sure. But, we'll see.
Well, it only matters from the standpoint. Everyone says AP doesn't matter, but I think there's recency bias with the committee. I think sometimes, like the committee looks at these polls, how much they factor into their first vote, I don't know, but seldom do you see somebody who's number one who ends up in the CFP poll is like number 5 or something like that. So while it doesn't matter, I think it has a tiny bit of influence.
Well, it doesn't matter for 2 months. They're not going to have the CFP rankings for 2 months, and obviously everything will change by then.
Correct.
Anyway, let's talk about the game, not the ranking, because the game itself was pretty compelling. Ohio State offensively, it was funny because in last year's playoff, Ryan Day, took off all the seatbelts or guardrails. They winged it, and they crushed opponents. They had a very open, aggressive game plan, and it was the opposite on Saturday, but with good reason. Sometimes it's smart to be conservative, and I think in this case it was. You for all the faith you have in Julian Sand, he'd thrown 12 passes in his career, had never played against a team like Texas. It's his first start. You have 8 new starters on defense, and I think once they saw that the defense was up to the task, the idea was, okay, let's not do anything stupid on offense. And that's the strategy worked.
What we learned is that Matt Patricia and his defense is really, really good. What we did not learn and still need to know is Brian Hartline, how good is he of a play caller and an offensive coordinator on game day? So that has to be answered. I assume that will be answered more clearly against Grambling this week. But very vanilla offense, as Bill said, it was just win the game. That was the idea. Ryan Day admitted afterward they probably could have given Julian Sand more to do. He could have handled it. But the idea was just hang on and win the game. And it was a closer game. I mean, I'm not sure Ohio State dominated, like Bill said. It was not a dominating win. It was a dominating defensive performance, but it was dicey there at the end. I mean, it was, you're always, when you're just a play away from the game being tied, it can never be, we just dominated that game.
Yeah, I mean, Texas had a chance in the fourth quarter to tie it. I think you just never felt like Ohio State was in position to lose the game. I guess that's probably the other side of the coin, just the way they controlled things. I think it was. I mean, there's quite a bit, I think, to be encouraged for Ohio State, because I would say the 3 biggest questions going into this season is, can Matt Patricia continue the success that they had under Jim Knowles with a bunch of new pieces? And heavy losses and he hasn't coached in college in over 20 years, how would he adjust to the college game? I think that I got answered resoundingly in favor of good news for Ohio State on that front. The question about Heartline and play calling remains to, I think, be seen because of just the way they approach this game. And then the third one was Julian Sayin. Does Ohio State have another promising quarterback on it in its hands? Is this more like C.J. Stroud in 21 or Kyle McCord in 23? And I think people would have to come away with that game, even though the game plan was limited, encouraged by the poise and composure Sayin showed in a lot of situations, even if the training wheels were on. So 2 out of the 3 biggest questions, I think, in a top 5 game, a good barometer for where Ohio State is. I think we're sort of in favor of Ohio State. So I think all those things are encouraging for them. They learned a lot, I think, in week 1 and nothing that was discouraging and things that were certainly, I think, encouraging.
Let's talk about Sayin a little bit more. It's funny. I think he threw 20 times. I don't think he was sacked. He didn't make any bad throws. I mean, not one that you kind of went, none like Arch Manning made, none like that. I mean, Manning, and I'm not going to, enough people have talked about him. We don't need to belabor him, but he made some awful throws. He made a couple great throws, but some awful throws. Sayin did not make any bad throws or bad decisions. You could argue maybe the worst pass he threw in a way was the touchdown pass to Carnell Tate because he underthrew it. It was it reminded me of Will Howard early last year. If he'd led him a little bit more, it would have been an easier catch. But Carnell Tate made a really nice play on the ball, bobbled it in tight coverage, and then came up with the ball. There was the other pass to Carnell Tate I thought was maybe his best play. I think he was in the end zone. He got pressured and rolled out in the end zone under pressure, kind of heaved it toward the sideline. And Carnell Tate came back for the ball, made a leaping catch. And what was impressive about it, first of all, he didn't get sacked. Secondly, he put it where only Carnell Tate could catch it. If it wasn't going to be Carnell Tate catching it, nobody would have. You see so many times on that kind of play that ends up in interception, and that didn't happen. He seemed very poised, not rattled at all. The moment wasn't too big for him. He showed good pocket presence, I thought, moved around in the pocket. So all in all, very solid performance.
I think I'm guilty of this. I think everyone was guilty of this. First time starter. We kind of discounted, and we usually do this, that he has played in the stadium. Like, this wasn't a guy who's coming straight from high school who goes into in front of 107,000 people. He had been in the stadium. He'd played some. He attempted 12 passes, Bill said. So it's not like this was all new to him. And that has to help. And then he's got poise and presence just naturally. So you put those together. This wasn't just a rookie coming in, like a true freshman coming in, like we saw with Keenholz in that Missouri game, where he was in way over his head. I think, if we're going to nitpick on Sayin, which it's hard to do, as Bill covered, maybe one of his first or second passes to Claire was he kind of missed Jeremiah Smith down the middle, and Smith kind of looked a little disgusted after that play, and he threw a little late to Claire. Claire should have caught the tight end, Max Claire, right?
Max Claire.
Yeah, should have caught the ball, dropped it. But that's the only thing that I thought was a little glitch, and that's pretty good for, again, a guy who you didn't know a whole lot about coming in with Sayin.
Yeah, you look at Sayin's passing chart from the game, and it's pretty conservative. 14 of the 20 passes were less than 10 yards or either behind the line of scrimmage. So 70% of what he threw were not further than 9 yards per PFF. But some of the times are probably on Sayin to also be more aggressive himself and take those shots when present, like the Jeremiah Smith one. But you could tell kind of going in that they wanted to maybe limit those opportunities. And I think that pass that maybe he could have hit Jeremiah Smith, that would have been his first throw of the game. It was on fourth down where they didn't need that sizable chunk of yards. So situationally, it maybe wasn't needed and what was called on before the snaps. That was kind of I thought maybe a tough spot for him, where the first 3 plays of the game are all runs, and then maybe you have a chance to rip it deep, but that would have taken some stones.
I think
For
the
what?
danger. I think the danger here is. I'll say this: Julian Sand outplayed Arch Manning. I think the danger is to do with Julian Sand what Texas and most of the nation did with Arch Manning and turning him into this Heisman candidate too early. He played a good game. He played a solid game. It was not spectacular, but he did what needed to be done, and he showed enough glimpses of again poise under pressure that you've got something here. But he did not wow me as someone who's just incredible yet. And I think the danger is putting that on him. Oh, he's gonna be CJ Stroud. Well, there aren't many CJ Strouds. So tap the brakes a little bit on Julian Sand being, Heisman candidate. And I don't think any of us have said that, but it's more in relation to what happens to Arch Manning. And these guys are going to have bad games. Everybody has a bad game. And so far, Julian Sand is 1-0 with good games. So that's a good start.
Again, I hate talking about the Heisman this early, but a good Ohio State quarterback, if Ohio State is as good as we think they can be, will be in the Heisman conversation. I'm not saying that he's going to win the Heisman. I'm just saying that if you are a good quarterback for a great Ohio State team, you're going to be in the conversation. So he's not anywhere near being one of the favorites at this point, but I wouldn't discount the possibility that by the end of the year he would be. But the other thing about the offense that was concerning was the run game. I think the longest run they had was 8 yards. And I don't think that was on the running backs. I didn't see them like missing the hole or hesitating too much or anything like that. There's a lot of space there. But then now, to their credit, on the key plays when they needed to get yardage, for the most part, they got them. The touchdown was a 4th and 2. And they brought in, I thought it was interesting, I think it was at least 3 tight ends. Nate Roberts was a tight end. He lined up as fullback, a true freshman. And C.J. Donaldson ran over Austin Cerebell and got in the end zone. That in some ways that was the game, especially when you contrast that with Arch Manning, and he stuffed at basically the 2-inch line, right? I mean, that ball was as close to the goal line as it could get, and they got nothing. And that was huge.
And that to me, I think you look at the concerns coming into the season. It was the running backs replacing Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson. I think people were underselling the importance of those two guys to the team last year by just sort of assuming that things would be plug and play. 87 yards on 29 carries is not a stellar debut from those guys, and there was never any sort of breakaway run that you saw from any of them where they were burst into the second or third level for a long game. And it's easier said than done to say just you're going to play somebody like Travion Henderson, because when he was right and he was fully healthy, he was really good. I mean, there was a reason people were talking about him as a late first round NFL draft pick and had that potential. He was really good. He was a 4-year starter with a lot of bursts and an ability to change the game with one play, as Texas knows all too well from last season's game. So I think the running game is still probably a work in progress there.
All true, but let's not forget who they're playing.
Yeah.
I mean, Texas is a top 5 defense, and it's going to finish the season a top 5 defense. All they kept saying, Ohio State, was how fast. We knew Texas was fast. They might be the fastest defense in the nation. Ohio State's pretty fast too, but Texas is fast, and the strength of their team, or at least defensively, was the defensive line. And so, factor that into why the run game did what it did. I totally agree. I don't think there's a Travion Henderson, at least of Donaldson and Peoples. I don't think either of those have the burst or just the breakaway speed. It'll be interesting whether Bo Jackson gets a little more look. I don't know about his speed. You guys have seen him probably more than me, but I don't know if he's a burner or not. But I would guess against Grambling, this is like, we can move on to Grambling if we want in a second, but not sure what there is to say other than it'll be a bloodbath. But you're going to be able to test anything you want to test against the Tigers. So I would expect that the run game will be up and running this Saturday. Well,
let's talk about the defense more against Texas, and then we'll say whatever we need to about Grambling. I watched the thing that really stood out to me was just how cohesive that defense was. There were no breakdowns from what I saw. There were a couple times later in the game when Manning found guys down the seam. Made a beautiful pass. Again, double coverage. It was actually both Styles brothers. A beautiful pass. But for the most part, there was no separation by Texas receivers. And the defensive line, as we've said many, many times, all new starters. Caden McDonald, Edric Houston, Caden Curry, and Kenyatta Jackson. First time starts for them. And they really did a nice job. I thought the Texas run game, especially in the first half, did almost nothing. The goal line stands, the fourth down stands. Davis Igbinosun, he had 10 tackles, and more importantly, played good coverage without getting interference calls. That the play he made in the end zone on 4th and 9 at the 4th and goal at 9.
Game sealing pass breakup or
yeah, it was a he covered that perfectly. Didn't, very easy to grab the receiver like around the stomach or whatever on that play. He didn't. He was just textbook defense on that play. Jermaine Matthews had interception, had a deflection that almost resulted in another interception. Caleb Downs is Caleb Downs. I mean, when a safety kind of dictates an offense's game plan, you've got a special safety. And Steve Sarkisian said after the game that we basically knew where Caleb Downs was on every play and adjusted to that. And I thought Jalen McClain may have been the biggest revelation of all. I mean, here's a guy who's battling with Malik Hartford to start. He does start and was all over the place. He was all over the field. I thought he and Arvell Reese were really guys that shined to me.
Arvell Reese was just a monster. That guy saw some clips, highlight clips focusing on him. Yep. The play where he ducks under an offensive lineman and makes the play was impressive. I mean, he's big time. They've got the parts. I want to go back to just before we tie this off, the Patricia thing. He is really good. He did a good job, but he's got the talent too. I mean, when you bring somebody that can do what he does creatively on defense, I mean, if you gave him Purdue's defense, Matt Patricia's like a guy, if that. But when you bring the talent that he has, when you put those together, somebody knows what they're doing and the talent, and you've got an unstoppable force there. So, I mean, when you can win one-on-one battles on defense, which this team can do, you were looking really good. And I don't know. Yeah, maybe the offense isn't going to be what it was last year. I don't know. But if this defense can hold teams to 10 points, 14 points, 7 points, 3 points, you're going to be in a lot of games and win most of them.
How do you think Matt Patricia would have fared if he was calling the defense for North Carolina?
Wow. Oh, Joey coming strong.
He has some ties to that coaching staff. They probably could use some help.
Good thing there's no coaching. They could use right? Belichick can be throwing money at him. No coaching transfer portal.
They could use Bo Atkinson. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. True. And CJ Hicks, for as much kind of criticism as he's gotten over in his career for not living up to the 5-star status, on the last play, he wrapped up Arch Manning and made it a lot easier for Caleb Downs to tackle the guy before the first down marker. So you saw, some presence from CJ Hicks, which I'm sure is a confidence boost for him too.
Yeah, he played 19 snaps in the game. Bo Atkinson played 35, but both of those guys did rotate a decent bit behind Kenyatta Jackson. Obviously, CJ Hicks played more when Kenyatta went down in the second half, but seemed to be able to contribute and be part of the rotation when he was in there. On
the other side of the ball, I don't know what the right word is, surprised or whatever, but Phil Daniels has beaten out Ethan Onyanwa at right tackle. Daniels played every snap, I think, and Onyanwa just got he was out there. I saw him once at least. I'm not sure he played more than that. And I think he played guard. And
he played a lot of guard, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's, of all the things, like on the offensive line, the fact that Austin Saraveld's the left tackle and Ethan Onyanwa was not even starting and didn't play much, that's a surprise. Again, we're not watching practice every day. You have to trust the coaches that they know what they're doing. But I just think it was eye opening.
By reputation, when Ethan Awaniawa transferred from Rice over the offseason, you presumed he was at least going to be if not the starting left tackle, the right tackle. Just he had played tackle throughout his career at Rice and was considered a draftable NFL player if he had gone pro, and he still might be. And maybe it speaks well of Philip Daniels and the preseason camp he had. Same goes for Austin Saraville, who was an Iron Buckeye and voted as a team captain. But that's a surprise for sure, just because of the acclaim he came in through the transfer portal. And typically, when Ohio State has targeted guys to the portal, the hit rate's been pretty strong. Typically, they find a starting caliber player. You tend to see that person end up starting for Ohio State. That has not been the case here. But if last year will be an indication, you might need more than 5 offensive linemen. So we'll see what kind of role he carves out.
Yeah, who aren't we raving about? Jeremiah Smith.
2 drops more than he had last year.
Conservative play calling. So, and we already talked about the play that Sayin missed him, or was playing it safe. 6 catches for Smith, dropped 2 in the first half. Hey, he's human, but I think again, this is where hype and overhype comes into play. I mean, this is the greatest receiver they've ever had. And I'm like, okay, there's a guy named Chris Carter. I mean, just go down the line. There's been really good players. So I think in a way, maybe it was good for expectations to kind of come back to earth.
He did start last year with the drop on the first time he was ever targeted. So maybe this is just part of the working out the kinks for him. Get your drops out of the way in week 1, because he didn't have a drop after that first one against Akron last year, went the rest of the season without.
Right. And, Texas played him well last year. He had 1 catch in that game. So he had six in this game. So there's an improvement. It's just, I think, again, expectations are so high on Jeremiah Smith, and we'll see. He's going to be very good, of course, but he didn't flash in this game, I guess, as they like to say.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, the 2 drops, I mean, when they happened, we're like, wow. I mean, you're just so shocked that he didn't catch it. But he did make some other nice plays. It wasn't last year where he caught 1 ball for 3 yards. And again, last year it was clear that Texas's entire strategy was don't let him score, contain him. And they have a really good receiver or cornerback. Muhammad he's going to be a first-round pick probably. So we wouldn't go against chopped liver. But yeah, I'm sure that he was kicking himself for those drops.
Where do they go from here?
Well,
I think there was a playoff, right? I mean, this is a win that shows up their playoff berth in a way.
But I mean, I know you're being facetious here, but in a way, you're right.
Like, half serious.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, because look, they have 3 major games. You thought they certainly could lose those games: Penn State, Michigan, and Texas. Now, there's some other ones that are tricky: Washington, Illinois. Maybe 1 or the 2 other teams could pop up as the season goes on. But if they win just 1 of those games, the big ones, they're in. And this game against Texas obviously will wear well. I mean, this will loom large with the committee when time comes to pick the playoff. And we all thought it was a playoff team. But I think this, again, I don't say it clinches it, because they could, but pretty close.
They'd have to lose. They'd have to lose 3 before the playoff. And maybe I'm not sure if even 3 losses keeps them out. Let's say they lose to Penn State and lose to Michigan, heaven forbid, right? And then they go to the Big Ten championship game, which there is one still, I believe.
Yes.
And they lose that. So that gives them a 3rd loss. It gets interesting then, and that is not beyond the realm of possibility that they could lose to Michigan and Penn State. Now, if that happens, they're probably not playing in the Big Ten championship game. So in a way, that would help them. You have 2 losses. You beat Texas. You're in the playoff with 2 losses.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, of course. I think you're right about. I mean, I don't think a 3-loss Ohio State team gets in the Big Ten championship, because they will lose the tiebreakers probably if the losses are to Penn State and Michigan.
No. I was saying 2 losses to get into the Big Ten championship game and then
No.
lose that.
But I'm saying they probably wouldn't get in the Big Ten championship game if the losses are to Penn State and Michigan, because I doubt that both those teams are going to have 2 losses.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, this was huge. People kept downplaying that. Oh, this game's not that big. The Texas game, not that big for the play. Yeah, it was. It was. I mean, Texas is still margin for error, but not a ton.
It's not like it's not a big
the old days.
In that in 2005 when they lost that game, they were out of the playoff hunt or out of the BCS title race because Texas and USC ended up being undefeated.
They ended up being out of it. That did not knock them out of it, but it ultimately
it did knock them out of it.
Well,
because
at the moment it didn't.
Sure, but
that's what we're talking about.
It effectively became an elimination game.
Correct.
For them. And in this current system, there's no way one game at this stage of a season can knock you out of the playoff. You can't lose a game in September and cost you a playoff shot. There's just no way that happens. So it's not as meaningful in that sense, but under the current structure, it's of importance because it does give you a little bit of extra padding.
Well, I think we can be pretty safe in saying that this week's game against Grambling State is not going to be not going to hurt their playoff chances. They're not going to lose this one. I'm not sure exactly why they're playing this game. I mean, they replaced UConn. Originally, the game was UConn, and Ohio State did a mutual decision and really kind of canceled. And so Grambling's a substitute game. And look, it's great for Grambling.
UConn was going to be played in October, and that makes it more challenging from the conference scheduling point.
Right.
So if they were going to, I don't know why UConn was scheduled in the first place with the October situation. And if you're trying to move a game September at the last minute, there probably aren't that many teams with open dates anyway.
I mean, I think this is a game where Ohio State just decides how long they're going to play their starters and how lopsided it gets. I just don't think there's a whole lot Grambling can do. Grambling won their opener 55-7, but before you get concerned, they played Langston, which is an NAIA school. So I don't know that any team's ever gone from a disparity of opponent talent that Grambling's going to have going from Langston to Ohio State. But look, this is a very proud program. Eddie Robinson, of course, was their coach forever. And, but let's just be honest about it. It's a mismatch.
This is a don't get your guys hurt game.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Get the kinks out. This is a glorified practice scrimmage. Work on things that didn't work well against Texas. Get the running game going. Open it up for Jillian Sand. Let the defense keep building momentum. Get out healthy. Look, this is a chance for the guys at the bottom of the roster to get some playing time. I'm not sure how often they're going to get that. Ohio's next week, and Ohio's certainly better than Grambling. So it'll be good for that.
This will be interesting how much time Lincoln Kienholz gets in this game.
Yeah.
Because this is like his best chance to see minutes on the field, right? And yet you want Julian Sand to play a lot. You don't want to. So my guess is they will play Sand through the third quarter regardless, or deep.
You also probably want Tavian St. Clair to play a little bit.
Yeah.
Too.
I would say.
But I mean, let's face it. Ryan Day's history is not to pull quarterbacks early. He leaves those guys in there. We've talked about that a lot. He leaves those guys in there. Whether that's intentional or he just gets caught up, I don't know. But I would get Sand out of there pretty quickly because I'm still of the mind, having seen what I've saw against Texas, that it's a pretty steep drop off. No matter what happened during camp, and it was a close contest, I kind of have to believe that it's a steep drop off from Sand to Kienholz.
I would think Kienholz or Sand will play the first half and maybe, depending on how it's gone, the first possession of third quarter. I'd be surprised if he plays beyond that. I'm curious to see Kienholz. I am curious to see St. Clair. I think that he'll probably get, if the game goes the way we think it will, I would guess St. Clair might play the last half of the fourth quarter. get Keenholz a quarter and a half. This is a game where Bo Jackson could, have a big game because he'll get some action. But there's not going to be a lot of drama with this one. I just don't. I mean, this is just a mismatch.
The biggest question mark is how Brutus Buckeye enters the stadium. That's going to be the real curiosity. Is he parachuted? Would he come in a Ferrari or Maserati? Is that what it was against Texas? So we'll see. Maybe I've heard something, there's a possibility of maybe a zip line at some point installed in the stadium for Brutus. Let's hope there's no accidents. That's all I'm hoping.
Yeah. Or gets decapitated like Oregon's done.
Oh, gee. Gosh. You had to add detail to my accident comment? Anyhow, it was a big win for the Buckeyes. I think if you're Buckeye Nation, you have to feel really good about the defense. You have to feel pretty good about Julian Sayin. You kind of don't know quite yet what to think of the running game, but you're thinking, well, we're definitely a top 5 team, probably a top 3 team, and maybe we're the best team.
Can't argue with that.
There you have
it. Bill?
Rob?
Tip my cap to you. Why don't you tell us what's going on in 26 years ago? You were born
I'm sure 26. It is my daughter's birthday today, but 26 years ago, I came to the Dispatch to cover the expansion Cleveland Browns. So I've gone from covering the worst team in the NFL to the best team in college football.
Who would win?
What?
Who would win?
I think the 2025 Buckeyes or 2024 Buckeyes might have beaten the 99 Browns. That was a bad team.
When did you switch over to the Buckeyes?
2011. I did the Bengals for 3 years, was a national college football writer for 3 years, and then joined the Ohio State beat in 2011. So it's not a secret. I've announced this on social media. This is Friday is my last day at the Columbus Dispatch. Gannett offered company-wide buyouts, and I decided to take it. I will be on Substack. Bill R. Substack is the name. Bill on the Buckeyes, and I'm just really appreciative of the Dispatch for giving me the opportunity to cover Ohio State. My boss is Brian White, Lori Schmidt. Lori's the nicest person in the world. And you guys, I mean, Joey's been a great beat partner for 7 years. We've never had a disagreement. Certainly, I mean, we certainly debate things, but we've never had any kind of argument ever. I think Robo and I have, but in a good way, in a good way. Never has gotten personal, never has gotten anything but just having fun with an argument. You guys are terrific writers, journalists. I wish there were more of you, people like you in our profession. You guys will do great. I'm sure the Dispatch will hire a well-qualified replacement for me. I hope people still subscribe to the Dispatch. I mean, I certainly don't think anyone will not because of me leaving, but I certainly hope that, your successor or your new partner, whoever it is, just hits the ground running and gives the coverage that we should give them. So, again, it's been a joy to cover Ohio State, a joy to cover them with you guys. I will miss that a lot, but I am very excited for what the new chapter will hopefully be.
Well, we're going to miss you, Bill, and I wish we had time and to tell some stories about some of these road travels we've had.
I could be a guest. I could be a guest on this, and we can
We're recording this Tuesday. You have until Friday, so
Friday. Yeah, I mean, there's just going to be some stories. Let's just say that Billy likes his hotel room warm.
Yeah, I'll say this. So one time, this is the one quick story. Bob Baptist, who likes his hotel rooms cold, we were roommates back in the day, pre-COVID and all that stuff, and so we'd always fight over the room temperature. Well, one trip to Maryland, I have a sister who lives in Maryland, so I was going to spend the night with her at my sister's house, but I had to go back in the room for some reason to pick up something, and I just turned the thermostat from like 68 or whatever to like 90, just. And I just laughed the whole time, knowing what Bob Baptist was gonna do. And sure enough, when he got to the room and it was like a sauna, he texted me, what you would imagine he would text me, and I laughed quite hard for a long time about that. We still joke about that one.
And there are many more stories that will remain untold. Maybe we'll save it for Bill's 5th book or 6th book or 10th book or whatever it is.
The
whatever
memoir.
he's on now. The memoir.
Well, I would be stupid to not self-promote my books or promote my books. So I'm going to do that. Buckeye,
of course.
Yeah, well, that's my last chance. Buckeye Brotherhood, which is the story of the 2024 championship season and is based on interviews with more than 50 people, is going to be out in October. October 21st is the official publication date. I think Ohio State fans will enjoy it. We know what happened, obviously, but the how and the why of it and the personal stories of the people involved, I was very privileged to share. So there, Buckeye Brotherhood out October 21st.
There you have it, Bill. It was a pleasure. It was a great partnership covering the beat with you, and I won't wax any poetic.
I don't want to see you cry, Joey. Please don't cry.
I won't cry. I won't.
All right. Thank you, guys. And thank you most of all to all the readers that have read my coverage and Rob's and Joey's coverage over the years. I hope you continue to do that. Again, it's been a pleasure, and I've been blessed to have this job as long as I have.
And now you must leave. Thanks for
get out of here. Don't let the door hit you.
Eat it.
All right, Billy. It's been a pleasure.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening, everybody.